digging.
Schneller!
Woo! Look at this view! Holy cow! Pretty amazing.
What do you see when you look at the sky at night? Darkness? The moon? Stars? Well, the truth is, with all the light pollution nowadays, we can't really see the stars anymore. That was the realization my friend Julian and I had one night. And so we came up with an idea.
You got to go to a place where there's no light. That's where you could see all the stars.
We would take 2 motorbikes and ride to one of the most remote places on Earth where there's no light pollution so that we could see all the stars.
We should go there.
The Atacama Desert in Chile seemed to be just the place we were looking for. And since most ideas conceived in the middle of the night after a couple of beer are generally good and worth pursuing, we didn't waste any time and started planning right the next day.
So, we fly to Santiago, the capital of Chile.
Starting in Santiago, our journey would take us 2,000 kilometers to the north, to the Atacama Desert, passing cities like Copiapó and Antofagasta.
Sounds like a good trip, indeed.
After this meticulous planning, all we had to do was carry 3 tons of baggage to the airport, and a short hop over the pond later, we already arrived in Chile, where our first mission was to find a taxi company that would take not only us, but also our 3 tons of baggage.
¿Y se puede cobrar todo, básicamente?
Todo.
Sí.
Para todo.
Tiene espacio, ¿no?
Sí, porque son grandes.
Super.
Eventually, though, all of our baggage was loaded into the taxi and we were on our way to the hotel. And as we drove downtown, all the signs were clearly indicating that we had indeed arrived in Santiago. After a while, our taxi arrived at the hotel, which unfortunately turned out to be the wrong hotel. The right hotel, however, was only 500 meters down the road, so we decided to enlist 2 of the local hotel staff to help us carry our 3 tons of baggage. In the end, we arrived at the right hotel, and we were finally able to focus on the things that really mattered. Because if we wanted to go to the Atacama Desert on motorbike, then we still had to find our bikes. And Chile certainly had a huge selection to choose from, but which bike was the right one? So we both went out to find a bike, and we agreed to meet later on an empty parking lot next to our hotel to show which bike we had chosen. I was the first one to arrive, and I arrived on something Japanese.
A KLR650 from Kawasaki. That is the bike that I bought, and I think it's the perfect bike for the trip because it has been built by Kawasaki since 1987 and fundamentally nothing has changed, which means that it has been proven in many conditions and it has proven to be one of the most reliable bikes. Look, it has primitive technology. It's a one-cylinder engine, it has still a carburetor, and basically there's nothing in this bike that can fail. And if against all odds something fails, it can still be fixed by any mechanic, even in the most remote corners of the world. So, in my opinion, this is the best bike for the trip.
My hymn of praise suddenly got interrupted though when I spotted something strange in the distance. Julian had arrived, but instead of riding on his bike, he was pushing it.
Here we go, the DR650. One could say Suzuki's masterpiece.
And indeed, the DR650 was a solid choice, but there was clearly something wrong with it.
And yes, I'm pushing it. So something must have gone wrong. We're lacking a couple O-rings.
As it turned out, the previous owner hadn't properly installed the oil filter, so Julian decided that it was best to not start the engine until this was fixed.
Basically, we bought the same bike, right? They are both one-cylinder. They have both been around for more than 20 years.
Decades, you could say, indeed.
They are both indestructible, basically. The only difference between these two bikes really is that one is running and one doesn't run.
For now.
For now.
A small few fixes are warranted, that's indeed true. But nothing that can't be done, right? We have time. But I want to ask you, how heavy is this bike?
Yes, I know the KLR is a bit heavier than the DR, that's for sure, but you do need to have a sturdy bike if you want to add some luggage to it. So that is a feature and not a bug.
Indeed. Until we hit the sand, let's say.
If we even hit the sand, because the DR with its, 3-liter tank is most likely not even gonna get there.
Well, yeah, I think you gotta push me a little bit then. The tow will come in handy.
As we continued to compare our bikes, it became clear to us that both of them would still require some form of modification. So we pushed them into our makeshift workshop and rolled up our sleeves.
Putting the cable for the electricity onto the bike so that we can charge some phones, some GoPros during the ride, and whatever is needed. "20 liters should get us some 400 kilometers. Good evening. I won't lie, I'm pretty tired. I think it's day 8, 9, something like this. But the bikes seem to be ready. We're leaving tomorrow morning. Let me just show you quickly what we've done on this one. We installed the pulley case, which will hold some camera equipment. We have some side racks, which will hold our luggage, tents, etc. We have some fresh tires. Bigger tank, important. 20 liters, 5.3 gallons. That should get us 400 kilometers. That's pretty much it. And we even have some laundry over there, which is still drying. So, ready to go tomorrow.
Now I'm going to show you my bike and everything that has been changed on the mighty KLR. I have installed a windshield riser just to have the windshield a bit higher, have a bit more protection from the wind. We have some embark busters here, so everything stays protected in case of a crash, but obviously we're not gonna crash. And we also have some crash bars here, which are very useful for when we're not gonna crash. And also some new foot pegs for better grip. We have also some side racks for our luggage. Obviously we have some cables here for electricity, some mounts for the navigation, for the cameras and so on. I have installed a safety feature here to make sure that we don't run over any pedestrians. So overall a very secure bike, and I look forward to starting the journey tomorrow.
The next morning, however, when we got to the bikes, we made a terrible discovery. While Julian's DR would start just fine, my KLR wouldn't. Since I had previously drained the float bowl, there was now no fuel in the carburetor. And to make matters worse, the battery was about to die because the bike hadn't been moved much in the previous months. So I decided that it was best to bypass the vacuum petcock and put some fuel directly into the carburetor. Unfortunately though, this didn't help. Afraid that the battery would eventually become entirely too weak to turn the bike over, I decided to go for a more radical approach and spray some brake cleaner into the airbox. Sadly though, this didn't work either. And eventually, the inevitable happened. After our countless attempts to get the bike to start, the battery was so depleted that it wouldn't turn over the engine anymore. Desperate and without alternatives, we decided to give it one last try. And this time,
that's the sound we want to hear. Finally, with both bikes running, we were able to settle up, leave our workshop, and begin our journey.
It's a great feeling to finally be on the road. After so many days of preparing the bikes and fixing everything, it almost felt like we would never get started with our actual journey. And now being here and riding through this beautiful landscape on these amazing roads, it's just awesome.
Julian and I were in high spirits, and after all the delays in the morning, we were now making good progress towards the north. This, however, would soon change as we were about to face yet another challenge. After making a quick stop at the side of the road, Julian's DR wouldn't start up again. Apparently, all the devices connected to the bike had drained the already weak battery so that now it couldn't turn over the engine anymore. So we decided to try to push start the bike back into life. Despite being on a downward sloping road, this turned out to be a rather exhausting exercise. And after many unsuccessful attempts, I tried to push the bike as hard as I possibly could, and this time it worked. After successfully overcoming our first roadside challenge, we were able to continue with our journey. What we didn't know back then was that we would soon be faced with yet another challenge. And this time, we wouldn't be able to overcome it that easily.
Hola, buenas. Vamos a los Andes, ¿se puede?
De aquí hacia arriba, recinto privado.
¿Es privado?
Sí.
¿En serio?
Sí. Esta es una minera.
Ok.
Minera de cobre.
Entiendo. Entonces no hay camino arriba de los Andes. Hay que volver.
Exacto. No se puede ingresar.
¿No se puede?
No.
Ah. ¿Alguna otra ruta?
Para los Andes.
Bueno, la dirección al norte.
No conozco por acá no conozco.
Así que básicamente hay que volver a Santiago. Más o menos.
Yo creo que sí, porque yo por lo menos no conozco alguna ruta por aquí cerca que vea los Andes.
Entiendo. Bist du zurück?
Weiter.
Gut, quasi fast bis Santiago und dann rechts hoch.
Hier hoch oder was?
Genau.
Alter.
Seeing how securely this road was guarded, we realized that we had no option but to turn around and ride all the way back. And at this point we were quite frustrated about basically having wasted an entire day, so we continued to ride until late in the night. Eventually though, we had to stop and rest. The next morning, we woke up before sunrise so that we could have an early start and catch up on some of the time we've lost the previous day. Our dream of having an early start soon got shattered though, when we found out that one of the indicator bulbs on Julian's bike didn't work. Luckily, we were carrying a spare one and were able to replace it within just a couple of minutes. Unluckily though, the issue wasn't the light bulb, but something else. So we had to spend some more time to find the real root cause. We started by checking the continuity of the cables.
Positive one works.
And found that only one of them seemed to be connected. So we decided to remove the sleeve, and that's when we saw that one of the cables had come loose.
Okay.
And after stripping the cable, we tested if we indeed had found the issue.
Aha. So it works.
Having confirmed that the light does work, we went about MacGyvering it all back together.
final check to see if everything works. Yes, beautiful.
And finally, after yet another successful repair, we were able to hit the road.
Gracias.
Chile offers some of the most spectacular roads I've ever seen. Roads here are almost as if they were built for the purpose of being ridden on a motorbike. The surface conditions are near perfect. So many curves, beautiful nature. It's great fun to ride. It's almost like riding on a roller coaster with all of these curves.
How many kilometers have we done today? To be honest, I have no idea. Maybe 300? No, probably less. Probably less. If you check the map where we want to go, we may be at 1/6, 1/5. It's not good. We gotta speed up, that's for sure.
And next time on our trip to the stars, we spend a nice day at the beach. We consider adopting a dog. And we experiment with new ways of how to park your motorbike.